Hello, and welcome back to Stories from Ashley's Childhood. Today, I'm going to tell you guys about the time my dad got into a fight. For reference, most of these stories, I only remember like a small amount of what actually happened. So usually I reach out to my sisters and I'm like, what do you remember? Let's fill in the gaps, and we formulate a whole story. But today's story is so far back that I couldn't reach out to my sisters. I had to ask my parents for what they remembered. So we'll start with what I remember. My memory entails the vision of my father at nightfall in his underwear, protecting his home. So we lived out in the country, and there were these little thieves that would rummage through the trash and leave a whole mess everywhere. And it was getting out of hand. We had a problem. And so my dad one night caught the thieves under the porch and went out and just started dumping bleach on them. This is how I feel. Just a whole gallon of bleach on them. And they obviously scatter. And my dad chases after them with the first thing that he can grab as a weapon. Just picks up a cinder block and takes off running. And he bashes the first one and starts coming at the second one. So the second one is sitting here. He had just been doused in bleach. He had witnessed the attempted murder of his comrade. And now there was a half-naked man running at him with a cinder block. So this possum's done playing dead, right? Like it's time to attack. I'm over this. And so it strikes and jumps at my dad. And so my dad has to jump up over this thing, meanwhile never dropping the cinder block. And this one gets away. So my father's left standing there in the dark in his underwear holding a cinder block. And so he goes back to the first and finishes the job. So my memory out of everything that transpires is my father in his whitey tighties bashing a possum to death with a cinder block. But apparently there was more. So the one possum got away, and after this, my father started locking the trash cans in a building, right? Because the possums had figured out how to untwist the lids, so he locked them in a building for safekeeping. And this possum came back. I don't know if it was out of revenge for his fallen partner. He wanted this trash, so he went into the building. By some crazy possum means, made his way into this building, and same routine. Got into the trash cans, left a mess everywhere. And so Dad was like, all right, it's personal now. And one night, he just sat up, just waiting to see this possum sneak its way into the building, just hanging out, drinking his beer, holding his gun, just waiting. Cool, calm, collected, quiet. Well, my uncle drops by, and about this time, my father's halfway through explaining the whole situation, and they both see the possum run for the building. Without missing a beat, they both take off running for the building, and my father goes inside. My uncle is coming around the outside of the building, and he's trying to come out of this corner, and so my dad hollers back, "Get out of the way, I'm gonna shoot." So Dad's like up a ladder, halfway into the attic space, aims at the possum and just fires off a 9mm into this possum. And so immediately his ears are ringing, and he makes his way back down the ladder. He feels concussed, he can't hear anything, and my uncle's trying to say something, but it just looks like he's mouthing something. And so a few minutes go by, Dad's starting to get some hearing back, and my uncle's like, "Hey, it's still alive, it's up there flopping around." So my dad's like, I can't fire another shot in there. I'll be deaf. There's no way. And so my uncle pulls out a pocket knife. Relax, it's not going where you think it is. And he cuts off the bottom of a soda pop bottle. And he hands the top half, probably more than half, top portion of the bottle to my father and says, hold this at the end of the barrel and fire at the possum. So Dad makes his way back up there, lines up the soda bottle, and he's trying to hit this target of a possum that's flopping around like, you know, the weasels at the Cracker Barrel store that are attached to a ball and they flop all over the place? That's kind of the target he's aiming at with a soda bottle. Honestly, it's a miracle that he didn't shoot his hand off, and he puts another 9 in the possum, and it's dead. It stops flopping. It's not even playing dead. Like, it is finally, actually, legitimately dead. And that was the end of that possum saga. So the moral of the story is, don't let anyone take away your dignity. If you're left standing in the dark in your underwear with a cinder block, don't let it end there. All right, you gotta see it through. And I guess also, I wouldn't say moral of the story, but pro tip, apparently you can use a plastic soda bottle as a somewhat silencer for a pistol. If you're using a rifle, apparently you should use like a 2-liter. I don't know from experience, this is just what I've heard. So if you got a possum problem, there's some ideas. Cheers.